Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Gabe.
It's Caleb.
And today you are tuning into another episode of the Positive Outlook podcast. Caleb, what are we talking about today, brother?
So today's a little special. We're actually kicking off a Positive Outlook series. The last one I remember doing was way back when we did 33 prompts to be more positive.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I'm excited. The titles for the episode will release them right now. If we decide not to release them like prior to separately, it's going to be a series on self, growth, and happiness, and we're looking to dedicate one episode to each. I just wrote down a bunch of topics, and at the end of the series, we have the biggest announcement.
The biggest announcement you guys have ever heard in your entire lives for Positive Outlook.
Yeah, since we have started podcasting.
Absolutely. We've had no bigger announcement ever.
So we're pretty excited. It's very scary, but it's coming your way soon at the end of this series. So stay tuned for each episode. If you're new here, make sure to drop that like and subscribe. And before we jump into today is going to be on self. Before we jump into that, what do we start almost every great episode?
Yeah, every great episode starts with a question of the day.
Question of the day.
And it was me last week, which means you're in the hot seat, pal.
I'm in the hot seat. And, I came up with one. It's kind of a cop-out for when it comes back to me.
Okay, all right.
But for the viewers and the listeners, Gabe, they would like to know, if you joined a branch of the military, what branch did you join?
All right. If I were to join any branch of the military, let's see here. Honestly, I think I would choose Navy.
Navy, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't have like a very thorough answer as to why or a reason, just because I'm not too familiar with all the branches. But yeah, probably the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what about you?
Probably Air Force.
Yeah, if you listen to the last episode, you know that Caleb enlisted.
Yep, I'm currently qualified and waiting. And again, legal disclaimer, just because we brought it up. Nothing I say or anything brought up here is a reflection of the United States Air Force in any capacity.
Amen.
I feel like I have to tagline that now.
Yeah. Man, what a question of the day.
I'm sorry. I was just curious if you had one that you would join. Because I know that for viewers that don't know, Gabe actually was a part of the National Guard or were in the process of becoming.
Yep.
Which was it?
Yeah, so I was pre-enlistment.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Yep.
So yeah, it was just my dad was in the military for 22 years. So, but that was 5 years ago, long time ago. So yeah.
Shout out military. I know last week was Memorial Day, but our military doesn't take a day off. So.
Amen. Yeah. So thank you guys again. I know we said it last week, but we'll say it again. Thank you for your service.
And he's mad about the cop out. Thank you for your service. He's mad about the cop out.
Come on. What was that question of the day, dude?
But I'll make my next one even better.
Last one, yeah.
Last
episode, last part of the series here. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you ready to jump in?
Absolutely. So refresh me again. What are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about self, and on the way to Gaylord from Mount Pleasant, it's about an hour and a half. I rode passenger, so I could write all these down, and this is also some of them are throughout the week. I think of it and be like, ooh, that's pretty good, but. Bluntly and honestly, most of them are on the ride up here.
Yeah.
I think I wrote this one like a week ago though.
Yeah, Caleb got here. What was it? The night before our last episode.
Yeah.
And he just showed me his phone. He said, "Hey, look at all these notes I took for the episode. This is what I want to talk about." And just start scrolling through. And I was like, "All right, man, shoot, I'm there for it."
And it's my bad. So we have this shared document. It's kind of an inside joke too, called Poopcast. And it's because I think it was a typo, or we were just goofing. And we just never changed it.
Yep.
And that was like 2-3 years ago.
Didn't have to say the name, dude.
What's that?
Said you didn't have to say the name of the
I thought it was funny.
document. It is funny, yeah.
And every time that we have episodes we want with more structure, or when we talk to Pastor Scott Disler, we're on our own separate computers because we really struggle with having guests on sometimes. And we had the document open, and we could actively talk during the episode to each other about, okay, who's saying what. We'd type it, or we'd like highlight, okay, you say this, I'll say this. And it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that's just a little behind the scenes. I was supposed to put this in there so he could also have it and add to it. And I never did that, so that is on me.
Yeah.
But
Caleb gets to lead the next 3 episodes. So.
Well, and we're pretty good at just talking and coming up with the stuff of our experiences and things that we relate with and can hopefully connect with you guys. We like less structure. It's always been a perfect part of the show is that when there's structure, we'll lay it out, and then we'll still end up
ignoring
talking.
it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we come up with a script and we're like, all right, time to rabbit hole for 45 minutes. And then we're like, hey, we should get back on topic. And we're like, well, the episode's over.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and most of these questions, okay, I want to preface this, came from either the last few months, what would be the most prevalent and like relatable message to possibly hear.
Yeah.
Some stuff we can get super deep with.
Absolutely.
And then some of it, I was listening to our current podcast, and I was like, hey, I'm really curious what Gabe would think about this thought in regard to what he says here. And so I'm not going to reference any of those episodes because that would be insane.
Yeah.
But I wrote down the questions and was like, I'm excited to sit down, talk to Gabe about this, especially on the podcast. I think it's going to be a fun series.
Yeah. So, yeah, Caleb and I are just going to be hanging out, talking to each other, and you guys get to listen.
And hopefully we're making your Monday a better day.
Absolutely.
I actually, real quick, before we get started, I do want to mention that I think it's because of the podcast. Monday is my favorite day of the week.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it?
Like, I have extra. You know how most people get that Friday energy because they know they're about to be home?
Yep.
I get the Monday energy, and then it slowly fades.
Yeah. Right.
But all right, funny. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So first of all, I want to talk, and when we're discussing self, I want to discuss who we are. Like, who are we?
Yeah.
So in your opinion, and this is going to be mostly opinion based.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we have some difference in opinions so we can discuss it.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be cool. And that's why I didn't want him looking too much at him or anything.
Yeah.
What is and what makes up our identity? So what is identity and what makes up our identity?
Yeah.
What would you say?
So your identity, who you are, is just the story you tell yourself.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and everybody's got their belief systems. They've got their limiting beliefs. They've got their story. And it's a culmination of all of those things. When they come together, that creates your identity.
Yeah.
And so it's the words you tell yourself. It's the things that you don't act on. How much is your inaction costing you, right? Like, what aren't you taking steps towards just because it's not who you are, quote unquote. But sometimes we do things and we discover that is who we are. So how do we really know it's not meant for us? Stuff like that. So ultimately, my final answer is it's just a story you tell yourself.
Gotcha. I love that. And when I think of identity, I do fully agree that, and that's why they say it's so dangerous. Your words, your thoughts, everything that you allow yourself to be around, everything impacts your identity. And I don't think people take it seriously enough when they talk about their identity. And I think what's super dangerous for people is when you wrap your identity around things that you shouldn't be wrapping your identity around.
Right.
I think that's really prevalent today because there's some side of this identity warping that has a coolness effect and a popular effect with people.
Right.
And I think it's super dangerous to get sucked into that because you end up kind of transitioning a lot of the things you prioritize to maintain this identity. Because I do think identity is something it's like clay, right? You can mold it, you can shift it, you can shape it. But at the end of the day, the clay is still clay. You have to work with the clay. If you don't, follow the rules of pottery, you're going to end up with something you probably don't like.
Right. And at the same time, a lot of people, this is an interesting thought I just had.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about how they just want to find things that make them happy, right?
Yes.
That bring them joy, that bring them fulfillment. But people find those things and then they don't pursue them. Right. They're, whether it's too much work, whether it's just, they feel like it's just not meant for them, whatever it may be. Most of us know what makes us happy. We just don't pursue it.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of it can do with the lack to identify with that purpose. Because I feel like I've been called to do so many random things, right?
Right.
Like some like growing up, right? I always think about this because I always marvel at the people that are like, I said I wanted to do this as a kid and now I'm doing it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, I wanted to be a baseball player. Then I wanted to be an astronaut. Then I wanted to be a firefighter. Then I wanted to be in the military. Then I wanted to, like, the list just goes on
keeps
and
going.
on. And at certain points, there was either something I didn't like about it, or whatever it was, there was something that kept me from following that path.
Yep.
And I feel like that has a lot to do with your identity. Because if these are things that don't match with how you identify yourself, it's going to cause different kind of problems. And it's important to recognize those kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is kind of a similar question, but we can kind of go anywhere with it. What defines us? Or I guess more personally, And you can ask yourself this if you guys are listening.
Mm-hmm.
What defines you? And I am asking you specifically,
Yeah.
but you can be as vague or as specific as you want.
Yeah. So I think personally, what defines me, I have a very heavy, and I'm sure a lot of people do, a lot of our listeners do. Um, they they worry so much about what other people are thinking about them, right?
Absolutely.
And so they do actions, they have thoughts, they do all of these things, but ultimately, it depends on your intention, right? So, what is your intention with each action? And I know I've talked about this before on the podcast as well, is question your intention, right? Because ultimately, we all want to be good people. We all want people to like us. We want to take care of others. We want to provide for others. So in your daily tasks, in you what you're doing is what's your intention? Question your
Absolutely.
intention, and once you find your intention, why you're doing things, you'll start to discover more about who you are and what defines you.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a really complex issue, and I don't think people spend enough time on this because you hear it all the time, like, what do you do, or like, who are you? And a lot of times people answer with, oh, I'm a firefighter, or oh,
Right.
I'm a nurse, oh, I'm a lawyer.
Right.
It's like, well, no, but what do you, like, who are you
Right.
as a person?
Yeah.
And so I don't think people take enough time to stop and truly define themselves, and it's important to do, especially with how many things are just always flying around and all the news that comes
Yeah.
out about certain things, and
Right.
you just have so many tests to your identity and what defines you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like taking care of a garden, right?
Right.
We say this a few times.
The
more
garden
recently on the
analogy, yeah.
podcast. But if there's so much going on that you have to be working on,
Yep.
is your garden, or do you have apple trees? Is it a garden full of different tomatoes or
Yeah.
different vegetables? Is it a mix?
And I think people try so hard to just like do what's cool, fit
Yes.
in, follow the trends. And you'll live a life of simply no fulfillment by just following what you think other people's opinions on you and trying to fulfill that, because honestly, who cares,
Yeah.
right? You ultimately, as long as you're happy, right?
Yes.
And you feel your own fulfillment, that's what should matter.
Absolutely.
Now we're obviously going to feel the weight of other people's opinions, no matter what. It's going to happen. But ultimately, what's important is that it doesn't
Unavoidable.
change you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not going to change you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think I think it's just something that people need to realize. There's not. I'm not a very materialistic guy.
Mhm.
I don't. I mean, especially in this journey of patience that I'm on
Yeah.
in my personal life. But I do think that it's proof that there's something beyond materialism. Is no matter what you define your identity as, if it's not something that has a sense of fulfillment, something like a purpose or quote unquote a calling, it leaves you empty whenever you attain or rely on these things to help boost your ego
Right.
or solidify your identity. It has holes, and the
Right.
holes are always there. And the people that are really feeling that void, they truly try to avoid dealing with it
Right.
by doing more things. And we talked about this a little bit in Why Do We Fall, but it's so important to discuss
Yeah.
because I've attained what I believe in my life to be success.
Yeah.
I've gotten a pilot license. We've gotten more subscribers than
Right.
our original goals used to be.
Absolutely.
We got more listeners. We've touched people. We've talked to people. We've grown so much as individuals in
Yeah.
the last year. And the important piece is you can have all that growth and you can still feel empty if you have
Yeah.
the wrong purpose.
Absolutely. And I think one thing I really like to lay out on the table is, I like the saying nothing fails like success.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times people are enjoying themselves the most when they are growing, right? And we talked about this last episode. But ultimately it's about the journey.
Yeah.
It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's about who you become along the way, what you see along the way, who you meet along the way, who you have with you along the way, right? It's all about the journey. And then you succeed and you get that next step. You get what you were striving for, and then you're just done.
Yeah.
What's next?
Exactly. I actually have a really micro version of this. So about 2 years ago, I moved into an apartment down in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and I was so excited. I
Mhm.
lived in a dorm room where there's all sorts of rules. There's neighbors that are noisy.
Right.
You have to share laundry with a whole building full of people.
Yep.
It's rough. Okay. Well, it's not that bad,
Right.
but it's not fun.
It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I finally was moving into my own apartment, and I was so excited. I literally could not wait. I remember there's this
Mhm.
in-between time where I moved back from the dorms before they reopened for the semester,
Yeah.
and I went and lived with my parents, and I didn't even have a bedroom. They only have one spare, and I have a bunch of siblings, so I got couched, and it was a great experience. I love being couched sometimes. It just reminds me of being a kid sometimes. You know? But it just made me want my own apartment so much more. And so I finally get there. We move everything in. I'm so excited. It's all I've been looking forward to for the past like 3 months.
Yeah.
And as soon as that door closes and it's time to chill for the night, I'm like, what now?
Yeah.
What I got here?
Yeah.
What do I do now?
It's like, where's the love or like the excitement
Yeah.
that I thought would come here? Where's the fulfillment, you know?
And sometimes I equate this to like when you're seeking too much alone time.
Right.
There are points in my day where I rush out of work. I just want to be able to chill,
Mhm.
either read something, game a little bit,
Yeah.
go for a run, whatever it is. Just do something alone.
Yeah.
And I get to a point where like, right, the apartment's empty, all my roommates are home, and I'm all by myself. And I'm like, man, me in this apartment right now without all the people that I live with
Mhm.
is just an empty
Right.
house.
It's a shell. Right. And that's the thing. It's not about in some right, like being part of that. You know, you'll succeed, you'll get what you wanted, but you still have to build from there. You know, it's not black and white. It's not I don't have it. I'll be happy once I do. And then you get
Toxic.
it. Yeah, it's a very toxic mindset of I'll be happy when.
And it's
I'll be happy
easy.
if.
It's the reason this is another repetitive thing that we bring up. It's so easy, even if you know better, to fall into that trap because you sometimes you kind of have to convince yourself that you'll be happy when.
Absolutely.
But maybe it's more so you have to convince yourself that you'll understand more when you're through it.
Yeah.
And that's really if you can kind of shift your focus just a little.
Yeah.
Because another thing I'd like to talk about is I meant to bring this up on the Why Do We Fall, but even when you've maximized your potential, right? Tony Robbins deals with the best of the best people, like Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite podcasters, George Jankos, was asking him, like, how is it you've become the superhero of superheroes?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, how is that possible when you're already dealing with the best? And he goes, well, the best understand that they may not have that extra knowledge they're missing, or they might not have everything there. They know that if they just shift whatever it is they're doing by about 8 to 10 degrees, it's going to make them infinitely better. And as Tony says, reshape their destiny, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's where the little things matter so much. And it's hard to understand that when you're just getting started. It really is.
Yeah.
Especially when your mind's already weak. You know, your identity is shattered. You don't even know who you are, and you have to try and create something.
Right.
It's so overwhelming.
And we talk about that, just going back to the basics, because really the biggest thing when you're in that situation that a lot of people struggle with is that they just don't feel that they're competent.
Absolutely.
They don't have any confidence in themselves, and they're scared to take the steps. But brick by brick, right? I don't know how many times we said that on the podcast. You just got to start small. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You just got to take the proper steps in the proper direction and just keep chipping away at it. And eventually you're going to start to build something in yourself. You're going to build some confidence. You're going to understand that you can tackle these challenges and that all these hurdles in front of you are meant to shape you, not to scare you away.
Absolutely. And that's really how you have to reshape it, because so I'm someone that's always believed in Christ, but I haven't always been like a Christian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've had wrong priorities throughout my life, or and it's easy. That's why like you have to be very cautious with obsession, because if you funnel it right, it can be a superpower. But if you're not careful, it can be the greatest weapon, right? It can destroy everything because you hyper focus and obsess over things. And whenever you get to that point, it usually becomes some form of toxic, whether it's eliminating social life, eliminating relationships, eliminating your mental health in general. It really doesn't matter. But you really got to refocus how everything is and reshift it, as in, why am I here, as we say all the time, and how am I going to get out of here, and what lessons can I learn?
Absolutely.
Because as I was saying, I struggled with Christianity. I told my friend Luke, I said, if I wasn't in the situation where I'm in high interest debt and I'm still trying to have major financial goals before my 40s, and it was making my whole head spin, and I
Yeah.
realized I wrapped my identity around chasing money and being rich.
Right.
And these are all things that can get taken away. And so I tell him, I say, I don't think I would have focused on strengthening my relationship with Christianity and with God
Right.
and everything if I didn't fall so hard.
Right.
Because
And that's why we fall.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have this this stupid alarm thing that I bought for like 99 cents.
Yeah,
and
right.
it says listen to every morning.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of different motivational speakers.
Yeah.
And there's one that says, life will push you so hard until you have no choice but to say, what do you want from me?
Right.
And that's kind of the point that I had to get to in order to go, okay, what's going on here? Because I kept teetering on the line of like, I think I'm a Christian, but I don't know how I feel about, there's a lot of stigma or questions that I've been asked that make me think.
Yeah.
And then I feel guilty for doubting. And so, yeah, that's something that I've been kind of bouncing back. But
yeah, and that's like I said in Why Do We Fall? Until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, no one's ever going to change.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite quotes that I brought up a few times, so simple. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah, easy as that.
I could listen to that on repeat when I'm at a workout because I'll be like there's days where I could not push myself. And I just tell myself, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
And so then I go up a weight, I'm all nervous, and then it works out.
Yeah.
And then I grow or I fail, and my muscles get stronger either way.
Yeah.
So, but next question. Who should you be?
It's a great question. So, I think ultimately, when you ask that question, my first thought is that I don't know. I don't know who I should be. I know who I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I know how I want to be.
Yeah.
I know I want to treat others with love, care, and kindness. I want to inspire others. I want to bring them up. And ultimately, I'm going to continue walking down that path, find out who I am along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I'll have this blueprint of who I am from all my lessons in life and what I've learned and what I've gone through. And ultimately, I will become who I need to be, right? Because sometimes I think it's really hard for us to really hone in, like you were saying about being obsessive, like who I want to be, what I want to have. You really lock in on it, and then you work towards it, and you keep getting pushed away. And you're like, stop pushing me away, I want to go for this. And then you get pushed away again, you're like, stop. And eventually you're so far away from where you wanted to be, and then you're standing there and you say, I'm so happy I didn't become that person. I'm so happy I turned into this guy.
Yep.
Right.
And I like to correlate that with flying airplanes because so the way it works is you plan your flight before the flight. You get all the weather, get your destination airport information, get your runway lengths, fuel you'll need, wind correction angles for how to put the nose of the plane so the wind doesn't blow you off course. Because when you go off course, even 2 or 3 degrees, right? You literally, in a plane, you cannot tell when you're facing 360 versus 001 or 359.
Right.
You would not be able to tell. And the danger is if you exceed a certain amount, you're going for an hour-long flight. And in an hour in an airplane, you can get pretty far. And so that 3 degrees at first is, 3 feet off from where you're at.
Right.
No big deal. But if you continue down that path, then you end up in a completely different part of the state, and you have no idea how you got there. And it's because you never took that time to just tweak it. Just take that time to course correct.
Yeah, right. And sometimes it just happens, right?
Yes.
Sometimes you have no control over it. And sometimes you just get pushed and you get pushed and you push. But one thing that Tony Robbins always says, and I love it, is that maybe life isn't happening to us. It's happening for us.
Absolutely.
And there's a reason why we're getting adjusted. There's a reason why we're getting pushed away.
And to me, I don't want to just constantly, be talking about this when we have our topics set already, but that is to me what reinforces that there is a creator. It's just like, in my opinion, there's just too many instances where things happen for specific reasons.
Right.
Like, I genuinely don't know if I believe in coincidence anymore. I don't know if I do. It could be real, but I have a hard time believing that coincidence is everything.
Right. Yeah.
But I wanted to answer this question because this is something I've thought about a lot, and I actually just came up with, like, when I asked you the question, I was like, ooh, actually, I think I know how to answer this in a sentence.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's something I had to relearn about myself throughout this whole, like, I guess you could call it a backslide and then turning it into an up,
Right.
But who should I be? I should be someone who never gives up. That's it. As long as you have that fighting spirit somewhere inside of you, even if it's kind of buried and you got to resurface it, never give up
Yeah,
and
just
be someone who never, even when the odds are completely against you,
right.
you
Just
should
keep putting one
never.
foot in front of the other. Just keep
Absolutely,
moving
because
forward.
after everything that's happened over and over and over again, I get reminded by my parents sometimes a little harshly, like,
Mm-hmm.
"Are you really giving up? Is
Yeah.
this it?"
Right.
And because when the whole loan thing happened, I talked about it last episode. I won't go into detail.
Yeah.
But when the whole loan situation happened, where I have all these high interest loans and I can't continue to fly, my mom's like, "Well, do you want to be a pilot?"
Right.
And that was the first time I was like, "I don't know." And I think it's because I
Yeah.
wrapped my identity around being a pilot that I lost
Absolutely.
who I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I don't know. So just that's who I am personally. That's someone that I've had to refine, and it's not always there. It doesn't always feel like it's there, I should say.
Right.
It's always there.
Brick by brick.
But the person who never gives up.
Yeah.
And I would say that goes for anybody except for those with ill intent. You guys should give up right now.
Yeah. Right. It's terrible.
Okay, and this is a question for our viewers as well. And so I'm going to ask it in the first person. That way our viewers can kind of hear it. Because I didn't really like the way I said, who should you be?
Right.
Actually, I didn't mind it.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah.
Anyways, where am I in life?
Mm-hmm.
How would you answer that question?
Yeah, I think where I am in life currently, and it's hard because, life is lived, through the rear lens, right?
Yeah,
You
2020.
can't appreciate your life while you're in it, right?
Yes.
As much as you try to, it's really not possible. It's only once it's become a memory that you're able to look back and appreciate it. So where I'm at in my life right now is I think that I'm just at the point where I'm trying to build strong foundations for myself. I'm trying to become the man I want to be, the man I'm going to become. And through my steps, I'm just trying to really appreciate every moment and allow myself to create the best memories for myself so that I feel like I have a life well lived.
That's awesome.
What about you?
I would say I'm finally back on my feet,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still rocked pretty hard. I'm still feeling the effects of the most recent uppercut from life.
Yeah.
But I'm settling in for the next round because it's not over. And I'm not kidding. When I was in that lowest of low points, it felt over. And that's crazy to say. I know, as a 22-year-old, it's and
it's scary.
believe it or not, 22 is young. Okay, watch Gary.
What do you mean,
Vee if
believe it or
disagree.
not? I don't think anyone would argue that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Watch Gary Vee.
Yeah.
All right, you'll feel young.
Yeah.
But anyways, the way I was looking at it is I acted as though this loan literally identified me, right? Because it identified my mistakes, my lack of financial savvy in that situation, my long-term needs versus short-term wants. I wasn't like all these things. I felt like it was negatively ascribing who I was.
Yeah.
And I had to come past that because it got to a point where, like, I'd calculate based off minimums because I always calculate on minimums.
Yep.
Whether that's the pilot in me or the anxious person in me.
Yeah.
Probably both. I don't know.
Right.
But it's how you should do things realistically. Is, if nothing changes with this trajectory, how long will this take? So you set up like a worst case scenario.
Right.
And so I did all that, and it was going to take me like 6-7 years in some of the best case scenarios of paying off all this debt without killing myself, literally.
Right.
And so I literally started looking at myself in the mirror like, oh, man, I'm a 27-year-old man. And like literally I forget, like, wait, no, I'm 22 because I was so obsessed with all of the what my problems were that I stopped looking at who I was and how I was going to face it.
Right.
And so
absolutely.
where am I at in life? I'm finally at a place where I'm remembering and relearning, but also building on, like, it's like a house that burnt down.
Yeah.
Right? I'm building it back up, but this time, instead of trying to go for the exact same, I'm going for a new person that's even stronger than the previous.
Yeah. That's awesome. Sweet.
It's scary and it's hard, but
it's terrifying. Yeah.
But it
really is.
And as you said a long time ago, probably episode like 8 or something.
Yeah.
Once you get that momentum, as soon as you get a taste of that momentum, that's when addiction and the healthiest ways start.
Yep. Can't be stopped. Yeah, absolutely.
But heck yeah, I thought that was a cool question.
Sweet, man.
Another question. How did you get here? And this can be a more positive if we're feeling like we're kind of on our way back up, or how did you get to where you're at now?
Yeah. Man, how did I get to where I'm at now? Well, when you go through it all, when you go through a lot in life, right, you start to realize that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You start to realize you're just going to get through it. No matter what, no matter how you're going to do it, you'll get through it. And so, how did I get here today? I took a deep breath and just told myself I'll be all right. You know,
Yeah.
put one foot in front of the other. You'll figure it out. I believe in you. I love you. You got this.
And that's awesome. That is beautiful because I was in the exact same boat, mentally speaking. And one thing I'd like to shout out to everybody that was there for me, Lauren, my parents, my brother, my roommates, everybody.
Right.
That has been such a strong foundation in my strength and in my motivation to be a better person and in my mission to accomplish more because I know I can. And all these things, all these people, when you are at rock bottom, you truly learn who's there for you. You truly learn the real nature because there's a lot of people that avoid rock bottom,
Right.
which can be fair if you stay there,
Right.
Because now you're
Yeah.
bringing other people down, and it's easy to
Right.
do that at rock bottom.
Absolutely.
And so I want to thank everybody out there that was there at my absolute lowest points because it was rough.
Yeah.
I didn't know at that time. I didn't
Right.
have
You thought it was only going to get worse from there. Yeah.
I didn't have the sensibility that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And when you lose that, it's scary. And
Yeah.
what I found out is each day, right? So my loan date is like June 14th, and I found out in January. And so each month that creeps closer.
Yeah.
It's like a death day.
Right. Yeah.
And as I'm realizing I'm going to have to lock in more. Okay, this isn't enough. I'm going to have to lock in more.
Yeah.
Because I'd let myself fall that much
Right.
that I had to get back in shape,
Absolutely.
And so I start working out. I start working at a higher paced, faster paced, higher intensity, not sitting on my butt job,
Yep.
which I was stuck at for a
Yep.
while. And it hit a point where I started realizing, wait, I kept thinking in my head, okay, by this date, life's going to suck.
Yeah.
And then I kept thinking in my head, by this date, life's going to suck.
Yeah. Right.
Each time I was so over anticipating the hit of life to the point that it wasn't hitting me anymore.
Right.
And I went, wait a second. This is rock bottom.
Yeah.
The dust is settling. The crash is over. The pain's still there a little bit. But everything's okay.
Yeah.
I'm still standing here.
Right.
And once you can hit that point,
That's it.
that's when you can build the blueprint.
Yep. You say I did it. I made it through the hard times. Now it's just time to either stay alive or start progressing.
And that's why you should be the person that never gives up.
Amen. Yeah.
Heck yeah. That was awesome. All right. And then let's kind of tie in this last episode with a little bit of, I feel like this relies with identity because what type of identity you have and possess can kind of determine the way you react to life.
Right,
And
absolutely.
I love already, we haven't even really talked about reshaping or reforming or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you've already done an amazing job without even thinking about it. Like half of what you're saying just naturally is already reshaped. Because I'm thinking the same thing for myself. When
Right.
I was at rock bottom, every way I shaped things was toxic.
Yeah.
And I didn't even want to admit that
Right.
because it was easier to use these excuses.
I know. I felt like a sad human being. That was like someone I've never been before,
Yes,
where like I had
yeah.
no hope, and it was just like, hey man, life just
It
sucks.
was like, wait, am I a loser?
yeah. Hey,
like-
life's just hard, and I'm not meant to do great things.
And some of those like doubters throughout your life, that's why I say voices of doubt are so dangerous. But those doubters, you start wondering, were they right?
Yeah.
No.
Never.
No.
They're never right.
So, when you're coming across a journey like this,
Yeah.
generally speaking, would you say life rejected you? Or did you, when it comes to moments of weakness and pain?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think it's really circumstantial, right? So ultimately, kind of what I was talking about earlier about how you just get pushed away from who you think
Yeah.
you want to become, right? You're getting pushed away, you're getting pushed away, you're getting pushed away. And maybe that's just that's like your fate, right? Or it's the
Okay.
Lord just telling you like that's not the way to go, unanswered prayer. I'm not going to give you that. Keep pushing you away. But at the same time, I think that everybody has the capacity to do whatever they want, right?
Absolutely.
Whatever you put your mind to, you can accomplish. So ultimately, if you find yourself not accomplishing something, A, you probably haven't put enough time into it.
Okay.
B, you need to change your approach. Or C, you just don't think you deserve it, or you really don't want it, and you're rejecting yourself.
Yeah. And I think these points of failure when you're getting further and further away, but you want to be reaching towards something, and sometimes it's even like say I'm trying to walk out that door. All right, there's a door behind the camera. I'm trying to walk out that door, and my steps, I'm walking backwards, but I'm still trying to reach as hard as I can
Yeah.
for the door handle.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but your actions are taking you further away.
Right.
And so then, that door locks. And now the door's closed, opportunity's gone.
Right.
That's such a scary thing to think about. But what happened to me, right, is my aviation door locked. And it was like basically had a timer on it, like when you lock yourself out of your phone.
Yeah,
it was like,
right.
You got at least 5 years, buddy.
Yeah.
And I was so upset. I was so hyper-focused on this specific door being locked and trying to bust it open, trying to blame the door for closing and not staying open for me. And then I look and I realize something. I'm in a whole new hallway full of open doors.
Right.
But I was so focused and obsessed with the one door that locked and closed on me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
that's a cool analogy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
These are some of the tidbits that I think of while I'm working at the factory.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, I need to discuss this with somebody.
Yeah.
I was like, what better
way than on the podcast?
than to come up to Gaylord, do some in-person fun stuff, and just really get everything flowing again.
Absolutely.
But I do think it's an important question. I don't think this is necessarily one or the other. Like you said, it's very circumstantial.
Right.
But I think every time you hit a low point, you should shift and shape your identity to be able to be somebody that can ask the genuine question and look for the genuine answer, which are two very hard things to do.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, did life reject me or did I? Was it my actions that caused this? That way you can learn from it.
Yep.
Or was it life? Because there are times when you do something over and over and over again, and I want this to be more of a subject of our part 2 episode, so I won't go too deep.
Okay.
But over and over and over again. Or is it something that just no matter how hard I try and how perfect I do all my steps, it still fails.
Right.
And so think about that. Ask yourself that question. Rather than getting mad, pointing fingers, you can do that if you decide that it was life that rejected you. Sure.
Right.
Give yourself some time to complain.
Yeah.
But you got to reshift that focus and just be honest with yourself.
Absolutely.
And so I guess this is kind of bouncing next, right after rejection. Oh, and I remembered that just stimulated my memory. Rejection. This was a comment. I was scrolling through our YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Someone requested an episode on rejection, and we have all sorts of rejection topics. So I figured I'd just throw these in here too. That way, if you haven't listened in a while or you haven't come across our episodes that satisfy what you'd like out of a rejection episode, we can kind of hit it here. So once you've hit a place of rejection, and again, I still feel like this kind of helps. This is with self and identity. I think they go really hand in hand because I feel like your actions reveal your identity. Whether you know it or not, whether it's something you try to fake or not, that's up to you.
Right.
But it truly does. And so when you fail, some questions I like to ask, and I'd like to talk to you about is why me? Why did I fail? And what now? And I want to focus more on the what now because we kind of discussed the first 2 throughout the last few questions.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, I mean, we fail because we're not there yet, right? We're not who we need to be at the end of the day to achieve that goal. So we just got to work a little bit harder. And then what next or what now? So I love the mentality. This is a new one I've developed within like the last month and a half, right? I always tell myself this now. So it's the let's still win mentality, okay? So sometimes you fall, you fail, you feel like you need to stay down.
Yeah.
Whatever, no matter what happens, you're not achieving your goal. You feel like you're losing. You feel like you're failing. Well, let's still win. Let's figure out what there is I can gain from this to give me a competitive edge moving forward.
Yeah.
What can I learn from this failure that will help me take the next step towards my goal with more confidence and be able to actually progress from here?
And real quick, I would say personally, just to pitch in, and I feel like this could apply for a lot of people, especially now that we live in a more civilized and respectable and like a lot of law and order, you know what I mean? A lot of etiquettes to learn. I feel like one of the things that helps me in those situations is aggression, adding an aggressive flavor to my identity.
Interesting.
Because I'm such a passive person.
Right.
And I forget that we all have just animals. We just have beasts inside of us that can take on the whole world. And
so do you you like take it personal when you fail?
Yeah. And I make it personal because you don't want to take it personal in the sense of it has the same effects as taking it personally.
Right.
As far as regarding whether it's a relationship with somebody, if it's something mean they said, whatever, but make it personal to where it's like, okay, I am not happy at how I'm reacting to this. What can I do right now aggressively to overcome whatever this is that's making me react in this way?
Absolutely. So it's fun. Gives you that motivation you need, right?
And because I'm such a passive person.
Yeah.
I really am. Like if there's something that I don't like, I'll casually be like, do you think we can? I don't know. This is a dumb idea. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, just,
yeah.
you
Yo,
kinda-
now that we have to do this, but this is what I was thinking. you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's something I still struggle with here and there to this day.
Yeah.
I remember I was so nervous at MEPS.
Yeah.
My hands were just like all day. It was like you'd think someone was just constantly pouring water
Yeah,
on my hands.
right.
I was just so nervous.
Yeah.
So I'm very shy around new people. Very much.
Yeah. So if you're new here, say hi so
Yeah.
that you're
Come
not
break
new
the ice.
anymore and he won't be nervous.
But yeah, I'm looking at this next bit that I'd written down for this episode, and I think it would actually fit better in one of the other parts.
Okay, then let's do it.
And I just want to check the runtime. Heck yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing some longer episodes. They're not insanely longer,
Yeah.
but this is a really important series, and I just want to make sure we discuss. We have good discussions, which I love it so far.
Mhm.
This has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
And I really just want to be able to connect with you guys. I feel like these episodes will help catch you up to where we're at, because that's what we keep doing, is kind of
Absolutely.
bringing up where we've been and everything.
Yeah.
So it's like a check-in mixed with an episode, and it's consistent. We're coming out all the time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's a 3-part series. I mean, the news, I hope you guys are ready for the news. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. I think, well, like we said before, we'll went to the end of the episode every time we announce it. That way you have to watch the whole episode.
Yeah. Yeah, if you skip to the end, it won't be there. Trust us.
And honestly, if you clip it, right? If you clip it and post it, instead of making people watch it, but it brings in more people,
Yeah.
I don't think we'd be too mad.
Yeah, you know what? We're probably not going to announce it at the end of the 3rd season or the end of the 3rd episode. We'll probably just announce it somewhere in the middle so
Yeah.
that you don't just go
Just
there.
casually.
Yeah,
Casually.
right.
Or we'll cut it in
Yeah.
with like a different video of us like going, okay, this is the announcement, and then
Yeah.
just vanish.
Hey, yeah, so we're actually going to do that. That'll be fun.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so you can't just skip to the end of the 3rd one to see what's
But
going
anyways, somewhere in the 3rd episode, possibly, or 2nd episode, either one of
on.
them.
Or this
one of the two.
episode. Hey, what's going on, guys? Let's get. No, I'm just kidding.
So just stay tuned, because it really is the biggest and it's the scariest news that we could ever have
Scariest.
on the show.
Exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And scary.
All of the above.
Yeah.
We're very excited. Guys, we love you for tuning in. If you watch this long, you're not following us on our social platforms, you're not subscribed, go do that. Hit those
Please and
buttons
thank you.
for us so we can make the big money and then keep doing what we love doing.
Yeah, share with a friend. Drop a comment. Let us know what you guys think. Otherwise, do you have anything else you want to add to today's episode?
Guys, just focus on self, but at the same time, don't be self-centered.
Absolutely.
Make sure, you focus on your identity. Who are you? Are you someone you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not stuck. It feels like
Right.
you may be sometimes, but you are not
Hey,
stuck.
the elephant in the rope, right? Just feels like it.
Yes, sir.
So you just gotta take one step out of your comfort zone, and that rope will snap, and then you're free.
So look into who you are if you haven't. And if you haven't in a while, I know it's terrifying. I know it hurts sometimes. But truly, just take a second
Yeah.
or multiple. You got to have a good amount of time.
Yep.
But take a time to learn who you are.
You deserve
because,
it.
As you said in the last episode, we are ever changing.
Yep.
We are always changing.
Always.
Always. So it's important to stay up to date with those changes.
Yeah. So always put your best foot forward. Do it for you, if for nobody else, because you deserve it. So otherwise, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Peace.